Good evening, folks from KSRA. I want to welcome you back to another hangout, or another interview that we have the opportunity to do. And we're going to interview tonight Kelly Arnold. He is the Sedgwick County. It's kind of
Clerk.
repetitive. Kind of repetitive there. Sedgwick County Clerk, and also serves as the chairman of the Kansas State Republican Party. And so we want to welcome him. Welcome, Kelly, to the
Well,
KSRA's Google Hangout.
thank you. It's good to be here tonight.
Now, just tell us just a little bit about your job and what you do there for the county, Sedgwick County.
Sure. Yeah, I ran for Sedgwick County Clerk back in 2008 and went through, of course, a primary and a general and was elected. I'm now in my second term and actually up for election again this year and working hard to make sure we serve the people well. My office deals with a number of different things, ranging from real estate to taxes to administrative duties within Sedgwick County government.
Okay.
And I work very closely with the county commission, with other county offices within the building and departments as well.
And what building is that in?
I am in the Sedgwick County Courthouse. There's also, I believe, 28 judicial judges that operate out of our county courthouse as well.
So this brings us to what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
HB 2502, we've been talking about this for a few days now, which was, of course, called now the Mega Gun Bill, as it is.
Yep.
And within that was portions of what was Senate Bill 421. Senate Bill 421, and maybe you can fill the folks in on what that did. And I know it was called the Wichita Fast Pass Bill.
Yeah.
And just fill us in a little bit on what that did, and now that actual language is in 2502 and will, if the governor signs it, become law.
Yep, absolutely. This bill actually is one of those things that if you first look at it, it's like, what is this and why do we need it and what is it for? And if we go back a few years, we worked very hard to make sure that we got legislation passed to allow concealed carry holders to carry inside of government buildings. In that bill, it's 2052, we also had legislation that says if that building has adequate security measures, which means electronic means of being able to monitor people, you could prohibit concealed carry in that building. There are a handful of buildings that are like that, and it's kind of more of a niche thing where you have, in Wichita, you have the Sedgwick County Courthouse, and right across the street you have the City of Wichita City Hall. Both of our buildings have adequate security measures. Nobody, especially general public, are allowed to carry firearms in that building. There are some employees that get to carry guns in there, such as myself, that use a restricted access. That was another provision that we put in there. If you have a restricted access door that you go through that the general public does not get to go through, and you use a key card, or some type of device to go through that door, you are allowed to carry a concealed weapon into that building. And that's something that worked with Senator Forrest Knox on that bill to make sure that we had that provision in there. And I'm very partial to that, and a lot of legislators know that. Mm-hmm. In our buildings, though, when we are dealing with the courts, and the City Hall deals with courts as well, and a lot of administrative people, municipals that go in there, we have found that the traffic and backup and backlog getting into the buildings, it can be 20-minute waits to walk through security. And just trying to be good citizens, good government to the citizens, we shouldn't have that long of a backlog, and we should be able to get people in and out. In our buildings, we typically have attorneys and specific contractors that come in and out 4 or 5 times a day. These are well-known people around the courthouse, and so we started talking, is there a way that we can, it's kind of similar to the TSA, is there a way we can issue them a certified identification card, do a background check on them, and be able to issue them something where they are able to more or less bypass security and go in. We still check to see, when they're coming in, but then they would not have to go through the full metal detectors and everything. And looking into this, the city of Wichita had an attorney general's opinion issued because the city of Wichita didn't want anybody to be able to carry firearms into their building. Mm-hmm. And the attorney general said, no, you can't let somebody through the restricted access and prohibit firearms due to the House Bill 2052 from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And so in our discussions, I said, okay, well, let's look at going to the legislature to allow you to be able to issue a card and be able to say, okay, no, you can't carry a gun in there. But at the same time, there's a lot of buildings where maybe we do want to allow that. One of the things I immediately think of is this Topeka Capitol building. They have adequate security measures there, but yet you can still carry a firearm in there. And so we didn't want to do anything that would penalize governments that want to still allow firearms in there, but yet still be able to issue a fast pass or, kind of like a TSA pre-check card. Mm-hmm. And so through a series of talks with City of Wichita and myself as a representative of Sedgwick County government, we came up with language that was kind of supported by all, that gives us the flexibility to let the local government decide if, whether you can still carry a firearm or not in there. If you have a concealed carry permit, you don't need to go through additional background check. You can still be issued that fast pass card to bypass security. So it was great to be able to come into agreement between Sedgwick County and Wichita and others to support this. Something typically, when it talks about gun issues, it seems like we get a lot of pushback from cities on that, and us gun rights people want to make sure we have as much, nothing to infringe our constitutional rights.
Absolutely. In that same vein of thought, folks, I think when we saw it come out as Wichita Fast Pass, that, again, just like the BB gun portion, it was, well, there goes Wichita again, and it's all just about Wichita. It's not about the state, and they got some hokey thing going on down there. But in fact, there's Kansas City, there's Topeka, just like you were saying, there's other buildings across the state that actually this can apply to now. Yeah. And, especially in, now some more rural areas may not, necessarily need it, but I think go ahead with the idea of the fast pass situation. One thing I think we dealt with through lobbying and so on was getting it down to where there was not two different background checks done, but in fact just one. If you had, say for instance, if you have a CCL, concealed carry license, then that background check, which is a state and federal background check, is good enough to get you that fast pass and to go through those restricted access entrances, and that's what that's all about, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So the city of Wichita they wanted to be able to have a background check, and we were looking at, well, maybe not. It costs money to do that. It costs, county resources or city resources to do the background check. It costs up to $50 to run one of these. And so through talks with actually representatives from the Kansas State Rifle Association, we came up with the idea, hey, most people, that might have a concealed carry license, why don't we just exempt them from the background check? And it made sense to all of us. And so that was something we all quickly came to an agreement on, that having gone through that, you should be good. If you have as an individual that you don't have any information on, and go ahead and do a background check on them. But I've been getting a lot of good feedback with this, especially, here in Sedgwick County. The people the typical person that's going to get one of these is going to be most of our attorneys, that come in and out for court 3 or 4 times a day, and can bypass, the line where there's a lot of people, say, going in to pay, to renew car tags or pay their taxes or, deal with other departments in government.
Mm-hmm. And it's just it's a matter of convenience and stewardship of money and stuff, and it is something that can help, again, statewide
Yeah.
now. And it's not just about Wichita and some hokey
Yeah.
thing going
Nope.
on in Wichita.
Yep. And
So,
you know, it's key on the firearm thing is we wanted to make sure we gave the flexibility to the local government to still be able to allow the firearms in for those individuals that they feel, we want to let them in. I mean, there's like I said, this bill is kind of a niche because it's usually the people that can afford to have the adequate security measures are some of your larger jurisdictions or a few of your state office
right,
buildings.
right.
And so it may not affect a whole lot of people, but it's important to people like me to be able to protect some of those rights that we have and be able to provide a convenience to our citizens.
Now, now once this passes, then functionally, what will be the process, for instance, for Sedgwick County,
Yeah.
that you guys will be actually putting into place? If the governor signs it and everything, what's going to be the functional process?
Yeah. So we will sit down and have a committee and probably discuss with City of Wichita as well on the process because there's going to be some reciprocity on this because we have government workers in the county building that go to the city building for for meetings and vice versa, and so we're going to try to establish a reciprocity between the two. But a typical applicant will come into the county and fill out just a piece of paper that would give their information that a background check could be done if they don't have a concealed carry. Our law enforcement, Sedgwick County Sheriff, will go ahead and do that background. And then our governing body, which is the Board of County Commissioners, will issue them an ID, just similar like employees will have. It will be different, so somebody can quickly identify that this is not a county employee, but this is somebody that's there on business that has the fast pass to be able to get in and out. The city has turnstiles where you go through. We have a station where you go in, you put your card on the reader. It gives you a green light or a red light. Green light says you can pass. Red light says there's an issue. And then that will be valid, typically for a year. We at Sedgwick County, we wanted to keep this flexible. We at Sedgwick County think, maybe that pass should be good for 2 or 3 years. There doesn't necessarily need to be a 1-year time limit on, but City of Wichita would like to do an annual one, and that's fine. But we're going to try to make it as simple as process as possible, and it's going to be a great benefit for us.
Now, who will pay the bill for that background check?
So that is one of the things in the bill that it allows for the local government to charge the reasonable fee, not something outrageous, but a reasonable fee to cover the cost of the background check. And in our discussions, a typical background check could be anywhere from like $35 to upwards of maybe $50 at the most. It's based on a federal rate that when you're doing the federal part of the background check.
All right. So it's and this could be possibly some vendors too that could be involved in this
Yep.
situation.
Yeah. We do have a lot of vendors that work in. Not necessarily for Sedgwick County or for the city of Wichita, but they're vendors that do a lot of business with. And so they come in and out all the time. And so this is open up to everybody. So anybody can apply for this. I think it's just going to be per jurisdiction. So if you wanted one for City of Wichita, you can go apply with them. And if you want one for Sedgwick County, you can apply for one for them as well.
So there'll be two of them.
There possibly will be two. These are discussions that need to be had between our county governments. I had mentioned earlier about possible reciprocity between the two governments. If what I guess it would be similar to like our concealed carry. If our two backgrounds and policies are going to be very similar or equal, then maybe we could have the same thing. Just kind of like the national reciprocity of concealed carry. If they're similar or equal, most states recognize the other.
Gotcha. So then also maybe like for folks in Riley County that are in Manhattan, their governments are somewhat the same way. And so they may have the same situation to go through if they choose to do so. but that'll be up to the jurisdiction themselves
Yeah.
to make
Yep.
the decision. So
Absolutely.
that's good. And so we wanted to get some clarity there, excuse me, for folks to be able to know what was going on, what to anticipate. We do have a lot of folks from the KSRA that are in the Wichita area.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Yep.
we appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
and so we wanted to make sure that the truth gets out, and that's our goal as we do these interviews, is that the truth gets out rather than the media gets a hold of it and twist it the way they want it,
Twisting
and
it. Yep.
takes a sound bite from you here and there, and this is what Kelly Arnold said here, and this is what this guy said over here. But we wanted to get, hey,
It
here's the raw
it
truth.
Yep. And this is, like I said, this is one of these bills that, you kind of look at. A lot of people don't know exactly what it is and why it's there, and that's it's important to be able to try to communicate that. Um,
Yes, it is.
especially in a gun bill where you have about five pieces to get passed, and they like to focus on the ones like the county employees being able to carry outside of their jurisdiction. I'm like, well, they can already carry inside of the building, so it's
Yeah.
only their right to be able to carry in a car as well. So
So, and that brings up a whole other issue. I didn't even think of it preparing for this interview.
yeah,
That you are, as the county clerk, you're a
yep,
county or a municipal employee,
yep,
and in that status, then if you have to go wherever it's at in the state, you know, for a meeting or a conference or for some type of function that's involved with county business, and you take, I don't know if you have a car that you have to use your own vehicle or not, but if you use a county vehicle, let's say,
yep,
and you go, you're now under this law able to do that in a
yeah.
county vehicle outside doing your job 8 to 5. You can then go out and do your job and actually be able to conceal carry.
Yep. So, Sedgwick County really was kind of the pioneers to trying to get, reducing the number of buildings that were banned to carry concealed in. And what we did is, a few years ago, we went through every single location and said, okay, why do we still have a sticker up on this building? Is there any reason why we should have this? And we did a very good job of looking at what operations were in each building and cut that from 50 buildings down to just about 5. And most of those all dealt with court and or ComCare, mental health issues, locations. And so, we have a lot of buildings where we will travel from one building to another building for meetings or do other county business. And if I were to say take a county vehicle or ride with somebody in a county vehicle, they could have, I could be legal to carry the gun in the buildings, but from getting from that building to the other building in a county car, it could have been prohibited. And a lot of places it was prohibited in other municipalities. And so it just didn't make sense. And so, that's why we were glad to be able to get that part of the bill passed. So our county employees who were already allowed to carry in buildings can now carry in the transportation to and from.
And that brings up something that I never thought of too. I mean, is there times where county employees that you guys have may be in possession of large amounts of money that are,
Oh,
or something like that?
Even my office, I have 4 employees that are authorized, and they are each issued, money bags to do petty cash. I mean, we do transactions in our office as county clerk. Whether it's paying for some maps or paying for a licensing. We sell on behalf of the state of Kansas hunting and fishing licenses in my office and boat licenses. And so, if you come in and pay, we have, cash available, and we do transport. We don't keep it in our office. We do have to transport it to the Treasurer's Department. And so, we have employees, that do walk around with money bags. And so, this is just one of the many reasons why, we need to be able to, have at least some type of protection.
Now, if this is just for Sedgwick County, if in the process of someone transferring from one location to another with a large amount of cash is accosted, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and they do draw their firearm in personal protection and in fear of their life or great bodily harm under the law, and then something unfortunate happens, and none of us want to see that happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to draw mine at any given day. I hope I never.
I want to go my whole life without having to. Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, I just I don't care to do that, but I made the decision to carry myself for my own protection and you too. But if that person does that, then is Sedgwick County, going to be responsible for their actions?
Well, as somebody that always likes to say, well, I'd have to get with my legal counsel and get back on that answer. Because there is some language in that the bill, I believe it was in 2052, that did speak to those type of liability issues.
Correct.
And whether you can hold the county or local government liable for the actions of an employee in a situation like that.
And actually relieves you all of indemnity.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
There is a clause in there. So I was just asking about that. But there's just a whole lot of little parts and pieces that folks don't think about, that every day county employees, I know we had several county employees and city employees that were interested in this bill due to the fact that they work out in the public.
Yep.
And say, for instance, I know one of them he's a code inspector, I believe, in a jurisdiction, and sometimes things get a little hairy.
You're not, as a code enforcer, you're not sometimes in the nicest neighborhoods. And when you're enforcing codes, and some people don't think you should be enforcing codes, I can see where, there's some people to get a little nervous.
Yeah. And it's not a matter, our thing from KSRA, we have Train Me Kansas, or trainmeks.com is our website that we push people to. And by the way, can you hear me?
Yep.
Just checking. Okay. I just saw some up here on the screen. My brain. Oh, I was on Train Me Kansas.
Yeah.
Is that people, there's individual responsibility, and to get training, and to know if you're gonna make the decision to carry a firearm, know how to use it, know when to use it, according to law. And of course, there's some great instructors across our state, and we're gaining more that can teach concealed carry, and they also teach just a basic course now. I know Thunderbird Firearms, for instance, they offer it for free.
Yeah, they do.
Because of the constitutional carry aspect. There's people that don't want to get their CCL, but they want to know what state law is. And
Right.
so there's all kinds of different scenarios out there for these guys and gals that are carrying, and that have made that choice and a decision, and they're county workers or city workers for that matter, or state. And they need to have that right to protect themselves. And in our day and age, it's sad to say, but there's people out there that do some very evil things. And
Yep.
I know, another small issue, and we're gonna come to a close here. But another issue is that it's a courthouse, and we've seen on many occasions, and not just in the distant past, but in the recent past in Texas, where someone has tried to commit a mass killing, on a courthouse because of domestic disputes and so on and so forth. And there may not be always an officer that's handy right there,
Right.
at the time. And so there's a lot of different things that folks need to think about, and we want folks to have that, be able to exercise their fundamental constitutional rights.
Yep.
And
Before
what we're all about.
Before we got to the point where we're at now with change of law, we passed a bill that allowed district attorneys to be able to carry concealed in their courtrooms, just because of that aspect of, not every courtroom has an officer, a sheriff's officer in that courtroom in case something goes bad, especially in these more rural communities. It may be 15 minutes before, sheriff's officer gets to a court, to see whatever happened. So we were able to get a district attorney bill passed a few years ago, and now now that's kind of been superseded with our being able to allow in county governments or in governments period bill.
Yeah.
So
We're making great progress, Kelly,
yep,
and
we are.
I appreciate your help, it's a team effort. Those of us who believe in the Constitution and we believe in the Second Amendment,
Yep.
it's something that we work together on. We may not agree on every political thing that's out there.
No, but the one thing unites us, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did get to see a little debate that you were a part of at Wichita State, I
Oh,
believe.
yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
fill us in on that?
I get the pleasure every year to be able to, usually debate in my capacity as Republican Party chairman, usually the Democrat Party chairman, and we got into a nice little discussion about the constitutional right of carrying a firearm on school property at universities, the campus carry issue, and I believe I held my own and had was on the winning side of that issue.
And I would agree. I got to see that, and I thought it was very good. In fact, we reposted it on our Facebook page. So,
Yep,
and
yep,
we appreciated that. So, and that's something that we're going to talk about tonight with Forrest, Senator Forrest Knox.
yep,
I'm going to be speaking with him later on tonight, and we'll be talking about the campus carry issue, and that, of course, for a lot of people, is a very touchy issue, but we're going to get into it and deal with it. But
and that issue is passed overwhelmingly in the state house, in the House and Senate, because that was part
yes,
of 2052.
yeah.
So
Well, and then this year, there was the furtherance of it this year in
yeah,
SB 65. So, and it did pass this year, of course, 92 to 28 out of the House and 32 to 6 out of the Senate. So, it's for the issue. I think there's some folks out there that like to make something out of nothing, maybe. So,
yep,
but we want to come back to the Constitution always, and the bedrock
absolutely,
and foundation of our country, and in that document that we want to live by. So, and the state of Kansas, Fourth Amendment to
yep,
the state constitution.
yep,
So, always want to remind people that it's there. And if you want to look it up, go to kslegislature.org, or go ahead and Google it. Find the Kansas State Library. You can find the Kansas State Constitution. Look up Article 4, and we have bedded right therein, and it was passed here in 2010, I believe it was 2011. We passed that.
yep. Sounds about right.
Overwhelmingly, 88% of the state of the electorate, voted.
One of the highest vote totals nationally on the constitutional issue on that.
Yes, and of course we have a lot to thank our immediate past president, Patricia Stoneking, worked hard on that issue.
Yep.
When she was still down at the State House. So,
Yep.
but well, Kelly, I won't keep you any longer, and we've had a great conversation. I appreciate it so much, you coming on and talking with us and just clarifying the issues,
Yep.
and getting it out there to folks. And we want to work with you guys and in all the jurisdictions across the state to let freedom ring, as I say, online. And but we appreciate you, and thank you for coming on tonight and
All
talking
right.
to us.
Absolutely. It's been a great evening. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. I'll get back with you folks here in not too long. Actually, we'll be back on air at 8:30 with Kevin Jones, Representative Kevin Jones, and then we'll also be on air at 9:30 with Senator Forrest Knox. So you want to join us then? This is live on YouTube, and it's a great tool that we can use. So make sure that's 8:30. Coming up with Representative Kevin Jones. He's going to be talking about the military aspect of the military, active duty military, that is, personnel, that they can get their CCL while they're out of state. And so you want to join us then and look at that portion of the bill. And then at 9:30, we're going to wrap it all up with Senator Forrest Knox as he talks about just the bill at large and how some things came together, because he was one of the major driving forces over the last few years for this bill that finally came to be known as House Bill 2502. So just to get the word out there to you all, and thank you for joining us and for listening in. I thank Kelly again for being with us. And so until 8:30. I'll see you then, and take care. Bye-bye.